Right, the very beginning of me being a kid, of knowing that the sense of homelessness really kicked in was back in the year 2006. My ma married a man, which is my father, from County Mayo. Based on that, my mum married my dad in that town. He died in 2006. He committed suicide. And where he committed suicide was in my mum's home. It was a council home that my ma fought long and hard enough in that area of Mayo that we lived in. She fought long and hard enough to gain a council home, and eventually she got one after many years of living in the town. And one day my brother was 3 years old, 4 years old, and he ran out onto the street of where we were living, and a small car that was coming down the road, my brother ran out the door of where we were living and he followed the football. And as he followed the football onto the main road as a 4-year-old child, and he was, my little brother, he was well supervised by all of our other brothers and my mum at the time. But as he crossed, we all panicked and said, there's a car speeding, she's not going to see him in the car. Because we knew the woman in the car, because we were on that road for many years, and we ran for our brother, and as we ran for my brother, he was automatically hit, and the front passenger wheel of that woman's car was on the backbone of my 4-year-old brother's body. Immediately, me and my brothers told the woman to reverse back because she panicked in the car. And she says to my brothers, what do I do, what do I do? And we shouted at her as kids in a panic. And we said, if you reverse back really slowly, we can take our 4-year-old brother out from under that wheel. And when my brother got up, with the help of us, my mum and all of us, he bounced up off the ground as if he never got hit by a car. It was the adrenaline, I feel, in my opinion, that the fright alone been for. I feel that he panicked with adrenaline, and immediately we asked him to take off his t-shirt. We insisted him to take off his t-shirt, and we could see the rubber rash all on his back. And naturally that's traumatic alone, just to watch your brother getting hit by a car, because we did physically watch our brother, my ma's son, get hit by a car right before our eyes. And as we ran for him, we couldn't save him, the car got there too quick. Eventually, moments passed, an ambulance came, my brother went to the hospital in the company of my ma, into the next town in Mayo. That's where the general hospital is. And they said that my brother didn't suffer any broken bones, which was a relief to my ma, more than us, because she's the mother. And Jason came out of the hospital hours later with kind of road rash, which I'll now say it was the tyres was imprinted. The rash was the tyres itself was the injuries alone. So we feel still to this day Jason was quite lucky, extremely lucky. The woman that hit him accidentally by that car, she didn't know that she was going to hit someone that morning. She had no intentions for it. We know that. She meant well. That woman was driving to work, and eventually she sees a boy under her wheel, and the ambulance came. Jason came home from hospital, 4-year-old, my brother, and that woman went into the council on behalf of my ma, and she said to the council in the local town, she said, yous know of the Collins family and the conditions that they live and where they live in this town all these years. Why have they not been housed? And the council in Mayo responded to the woman that had a major interest, this lady had a major interest in going into the council for one intention only. I could have killed Anne Collins' son. I could have. He was lucky to survive. I could have killed him, that's why I'm here. They said, what's your concern, why are you here? She said, I'm explaining. I didn't kill him, but what if I did? That would have affected me, she said, my family, and my mental health. The council said, what can we do to support you? She said, there's only one thing I'd love for you to do as a council, she said, is to go out and ask Anne and her 7 kids and a 4-year-old that I hit with my car accidentally, are they okay? Are they happy living where they're living all those years? What if I, she said, wasn't driving a small car? She said, I had intentions of buying a bigger car. She said, and the 4-year-old to be under that car. She said maybe that child wouldn't have survived. The council says, what would you like us to do to the woman? And she said, just go out to the family, the Collins family, as a council. You're here years, you know this woman and married a man from this town. We're well familiar with her, we highly respect her. And the council came to my mum's address at that time, days later, when Jason, my brother, came out of hospital. And the council said, and there's an appointment, we'd like you to come into the main town and we'd like to speak with you. My man said, on the grounds of what? And they kind of put it in the sense of, we've had good intentions, complaints with good intentions. And my man said, well look, I don't know if I want to go in because I'm not sure what you're talking about. And they just made it short and simple, and they said, it is regarding your son Jason last week being hit by a car. The woman that hit him with the car accidentally, she came forward and said to us, you as a council should be ashamed of yourself. You're watching that family and that mother of 7. The woman said, I could have killed him. I could have, and I'm so happy that I didn't kill someone else's son. And the woman said, I'm so happy that I didn't kill anyone's son, accidentally or in any way, shape or form. So the council came to me ma a few days later and knocked at the door where we live and says to my ma, can you come into the office in, maybe it could have been Kieran, 6 days later, 5 days later. And my ma said, I haven't got the confidence for this, I haven't got the head for this, you know, I'm not able to be in front of these council professionals, I don't have the confidence. And my ma's close friends down that neck of the woods says, do it, just do it. They came to your door. Go to the council, accept their meeting.
And what was said at that meeting?
Can you tell Ma, please? You were the only one at the meeting.
The councilman said there was about 12, 13 people around this big oval-shaped table. I said to my sister-in-law, will you please come with me, because I'm embarrassed, I don't know what to say, I don't know what it's for. But long story short, he slid a big album down to the table where he was up that end, I was down here, and he said, open the first page. And I'm looking at this yoke, and I opened the first page, and he said, what do you think of that? And it was the front of this big house. And I said, I'm looking at a picture of a house. I said, and what? He said, open the second page. I looked, and it was the sitting room, kitchen, all photographs of the inside of this big, huge, fabulous mansion of a home, brand new house. And he said to me, would you be willing on accepting this home for you and your 7 children and dispose of your 2 caravans? And I looked, I said, are you serious? I was in shock.
The caravans is where my brother ran out the door of that caravan.
I see. So you were
mobiles, yeah.
8 of you were living in
I was married to a traveller, so we were in 2 caravans, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So he said, you'd have to sign a form to say that you'd be willing to sign this form and let us as the council dispose of these 2 caravans, and we can give you this beautiful 4-bedroom house.
From the Mayo County Council.
And I said, mister, I said, are you serious? I start crying with happiness, like, as you would, coming up to Christmas. And I think it was the next day he told me come for the key. I went, me and my sister-in-law, she came with me, went for the key, goes out to the house, and I'm looking all around this house, and I sobbed in the middle of the kitchen floor. And I said to my sister-in-law, Teresa, how am I going to fill this big, big house? And she said, don't be crying, that's happy tears. Oh, I said, why would someone give me a beautiful home like this, do you know, for me and my children? She said, Anne, she said, you should be dancing, she said, with excitement. But I was just that shocked. But got the house, and anyway, and people from all over the town were dropping sofas, dropping beds, dropping tables. You know, it was beautiful.
The community down there came together and said to the council, we all agree
that's lovely.
that house on the hill should and can be given to Anne with 7 children, based on the living conditions in the mobile homes down the road. This house is newly built, nobody has ever moved into it, give it to the Collins family. Give it to them. Take them out of the caravans they're in.
Yeah.
So, what was the next stage then of that process?
I was there for 2 years, and my husband was in prison doing 2 years. So when he got out of prison, a week later, coming to Easter Sunday morning, he was suffering with depression and hung himself from the attic.
What year was that?
So that was in 2006.
Easter Sunday morning.
Easter Sunday morning.
When did you decide then to leave from the moment that my dad died?
I think it was I tried to stay, but they were going 3 boys at a time to the toilet. Then I was going to the toilet with Lorna because she was my only girl. I have 6 sons and 1 daughter. And they were saying, oh no, I'm afraid going down that end because their 3 bedrooms was right in the middle of where the father took his life. So I said, for a couple of months, I can't put my kids through this. I said, no, that's too dramatising for them. I can't. So I went to the council and I handed back the key. I said, I can't put my kids through it. I said, there's no way. But I gave back the house and I moved back to Dublin.
Yeah.
And I went to the council in Dublin, explained my situation, and one man said, well, I'm very sorry to say, we can consider you in about 10 years' time, but for now, you left yourself homeless. So I asked him, well, I said, mister, I said, if your wife hung herself in your family home, would you leave your 7 children living in fear in the house, thinking of their mother hanging from the attic every day of their life? That man didn't know how to answer me. He couldn't answer me. He just put his head down and he just said then a few minutes later, I'm so sorry for what happened, but in about 10 years' time we consider you. So I just walked out of that office care on and I never put a foot inside it since.
Across from the office where you gave the key?
Left out.
Across from the office in Mayo where you gave the key back of that house, that house was never taken from you?
No,
You gave your key back?
Yeah, I have a letter stating and surrendered and I have all that on file.
What was directly across the road from the council when you gave them the key? The train station?
The train station, yeah.
Who did you put on the train to bring to Dublin for safety reasons?
The whole lot of us went. Yeah.
6 boys, 1 girl and my ma.
And where did you go?
I went to my mother's home. She was in a 2-bedroom little small house up in Drimnagh, and it was overcrowded, to be honest. So then we ended up going from place to place, staying with this friend, that friend, but it just took too much out of us, you know what I mean? So then, what happened then after that?
You were then given, in the year of 2007 till 2008.
Yeah. We got put into Parnell Road in a homeless hostel near Dolphin's Barn.
You were given a 3-bedroom home.
2-bedroom that was.
2-bedroom?
At the time, yeah.
Funded by the council?
Yeah.
And then, because obviously going through the suicide of your father and the suicide of your husband is an extremely traumatic experience.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's an extremely traumatic experience for anyone.
Oh, stop, devastating.
It's very difficult to then orient yourself around life after that. And you were saying you had trouble, organising your life after that, I suppose.
I broke down. I went downhill instead of trying to come uphill. Mixed with wrong people, went down the wrong road, and unfortunately I realised then I need help. So I went to a treatment place where to try and help you.
For drugs, was this?
Yeah.
Right.
Can you name the location of that community centre?
No, I don't want to name the names.
Okay.
But, and anyway, started on the clinic, and a couple of weeks later I was called into the office and there was 2 social workers sitting, and I'm looking, I'm saying, what's going on here? And I was accused on injecting myself under the tree in a church grounds at Rialto Church with myself and 2 other people. And I started crying. I said, I never injected in my life. I said, I'm here for help. I said, I never touched a needle in my life. But I started pulling up my sleeves, and one of the men out of the office said, oh, Anne, don't go. I said, no, you can bring me to any hospital this minute and you can prove that no needles was ever stuck to my body. I said, no.
And then
so they took me kids, tried to take me kids. They came to Parnell where I was living in the homeless unit a couple of days later, and 2 social workers had this letter in her hand saying, we have a court order now to take your children.
For 28
I
days.
said, on what reason? She said, because you went on drugs. I said, that's fair enough. But I said, if you want my children, I said, you're going to have to find them, because I ain't telling you where my children are. For me, I said, to hand my children over to you, I said, not a chance. When you want my children, you're going to have to look for them, because I'm not telling you where they are. They were with me auntie at the time. But I rang me auntie, I walked out of the flat, and I left the 2 social workers sitting. Got into my car, rang me auntie, I said, hold my children there. I said, 2 social services that's coming with an order to take my children. And my auntie got shocked. She said, what? For what? I said, for me going for help, I said. But that was okay then. I ran it just for 2-3 weeks.
It was...
Social worker rang me. Well, if you don't sign, bring them in and hand them into Lord Edward Street. She said, we're going to charge you for kidnapping.
Of 4 children.
Of your 4 children. I said, you can charge me for kidnapping. They're mine. I gave birth to them. I said, you don't own my children, I own them. And I said, they're fed, watered and whatever. I said, they're not in any danger with their mother. So she said, well, if you don't sign them in and this and that, she said, you will be arrested and charged for kidnap. So,
sorry, I don't mean to cut across, and then ultimately you guys were taken into care then?
In the year
Yes.
2009, we were
took
put into care.
And how old were you at that stage?
I was just hitting 11, just 12.
11. And where were you placed?
I was originally placed with my younger brother and my sister, who, the woman and the man that we still know to this day, they were the foster parents that were first asked
to take the trade.
Foster parents were asked by the social worker. We have 2 brothers and a sister that do not want to be separated. They asked this foster parent, would you consider with your husband to take in the 3 of them? Because the 3 children's mother made it quite clear to us as the HSE that if one child is taken away from the other, it's going to traumatise them
even more.
Their mental health in the future when they become adults, as well as them in that day of walking into that woman's home. We went in, she said yeah, the lady said yeah. She said, I'll take the 3 of them, not 1 of them, not 2 of them, I'll take the 3 of them. Now that I know that the mother that I've never met wants that wish, I'll give that mother that wish. So we, my brother Jason, my sister, the 3 of us were put into a taxi late at night when my mother hadn't felt like she had no choice when she was being accused
surrounded
of
by
kidnapping.
police, like, you know.
Kidnapping. The social worker said, and you've kidnapped your kids. You've been missing for 2 to 3 weeks. We've no choice to put your son and your daughter into the paper as missing people. My mum said, because this is what I do know, I was there to witness it and see it. And my mum said, for what reason would you put my kids' pictures in the paper when you know I have them? And the social worker replied, and she said, Anne, you're 2 weeks on the run with your children. We know it's hard for you to let go of them. My mum said, look, it's extremely hard for me to let go of them. If I hand my 3 children to you in front of my 3 children, in years to come when my kids reach 18, they'll say, Ma, I remember the time you gave us to that social worker. So no, I don't love you no more, Ma. And my man said to the social worker, look, it's been 2 to 3 weeks, I am on the run. I just did see my youngest daughter and my youngest son in the 3rd, 4th page of the paper, in their school uniforms, and an article wrote about my brother and sister saying, this is the uniforms they were last seen in. If you see them, do not approach, just ring the police.
That's a kind of mad thing for a family to go through, particularly as a child.
Yeah.
Can I get a sense of your experience then of being in foster care? Because at such a young age, even at 11, you know, when you're starting to go into adolescence or whatever, it's still so important that you have connection with your family.
Yeah.
What was your sense of your experience of foster care? Was it an overall positive one, overall negative one? deeply negative? You know, how would you reflect on it now?
I'll state that it was deeply negative in the sense of the people that punished my mum on the outside just with vocal words, and you shouldn't have allowed them to be put in care, and you could have done better, and why didn't you like fight for them? And my ma always had to face people in her local community, and they'd say, where's the kids on? They're with you every day. And my ma would say, the 4 of them are taken into care. But Anne, why were they in the newspaper? They'd ask the questions, they'd try to get the gossip, and my ma stayed strong and just gave them the facts, but not the gossip of it to twist it. My ma said, look, I would have been charged for kidnap if I didn't give the social workers my kids. So my mother stood by them words. If I didn't give the social worker my kids, me as a mother, I would have been charged as kidnap. And Kieran, my ma would have been charged with 4 counts of kidnap.
Yeah.
And the reason she would have been is because the social workers had us in their paperwork here. They said to me, ma, you know, you might have the kids with you hiding. You might be on the paper, but you are, and your kids' pictures. But the reason that we can charge you and encourage, the HSE said the reason we can encourage the police to charge you on 4 counts of kidnap is because the government now owns your kids. And that's why we can get you done for kidnap.
So when you were talking about it there, though, it's interesting because you're almost talking about it exclusively from your mum's point of view.
Yeah.
Which is interesting in the sense that obviously you guys have a very deep connection.
Yes.
I suppose that your experience yourself, though, of that period, were you,
as an individual experience.
Yeah, were you? I mean, were you primarily concerned with you know, your family, your mum, and keeping them all together?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
the sense that you get.
Yeah, when I first arrived to the foster home, it was that woman that said, yes, I'll take the 3 kids together. And on that basis, my ma felt relieved that when she put us into the taxi, the social worker said, and look, don't worry, they're going to the best man and woman, everything is going to be fine. My ma said, but they're not with me. But look, if you feel that you're telling me as a social worker that in 28 days they can come home to me to the same apartment that was given to me by DCC as a temporary accommodation. It wasn't a council house for long term. It was just a homeless council allocated for
all the homelessness. People, like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to skip forward a little bit here. We'll ultimately come back to a couple more questions around the services at the moment. I just kind of want to get to where we are at the moment. So you guys are now homeless in Dublin. Without sounding deeply, without it sounding like a deeply stupid question, how is that? What's that experience like from day to day?
It doesn't go. It doesn't go. For anyone that has been through the same thing, or similar things, or someone that hasn't been through it but has a sister that went through this story, or has a mother that went through this story, that anyone looking in, they can relate and say, well, oh, my sister was in that situation, or my auntie, my cousin, my brother, the kids were taken, and the parents are getting all the blame, and the HSE, Hostel, they just say, oh, but we're giving all the best help to these kids. We've done this for the kids' best interest. But the parents that the kids have been taken away from, the parents get the blame. From the HSE, the friends that the parents once had just disappear, as if to say, we believe that because you haven't got your kids beside you, that you're blaming the social workers, because the social workers are not here to defend your story. In one sense, Kieran, there's 2 sides to every story. So when my ma went around for years saying, this is truly how my kids was taken. The false allegations against me, she said, the way that my kids was told, you will be home in 28 days. It's now, on them basis, my ma lost friends and family members, and they didn't believe her until one of my brothers came out of care only 3 years ago, and he got his book of care, all of his records, and I'm entitled to one of my care book. And my younger brother requested his care book when he was 18, and he said it took him 6 weeks to read it all, and he said he wished he never did, because it brought him right back. And he said, in his own words, Ma, Eddie, and whoever else he expressed himself to. He said, in one sense, I'm glad I read my aftercare file. It took me weeks to read it, my brother said. But at the same time, my brother said, I have the intelligence, he said, to know where the lies was in that book too. He said, and that's what hurt me the most. My man said, but did I hurt you as a mother? Did you read something wrong about me in the book? No, ma, I know the lie. I used to believe as a kid that you were doing the wrong, that the social workers were telling us you were doing in Dublin while we lived in the country in foster care, visiting you, ma, on a fortnightly basis for an hour and a half visit every 2 weeks. My brother said he could point out at the age of 18, reading that book, the lies that he knew. In his opinion, he said, in his opinion, that he could tell that the lies in the book against me ma, he said, I know my mother from as long as my mother knows me. He was more hurt about the lies, and he said to me, ma, I love you with all of my heart, and I'll never blame you for anything, the way we all did as kids.
Yeah.
He said, reading the book was torture, but closing that aftercare book of his individual file gave him closure. And that closure, in his opinion, was my ma wasn't the villain from the very beginning of it all.
So how long have you been without a home now?
16 years.
16 years.
Since my husband died, 2007, I left.
2007?
I think, wasn't it?
15.
I have a bit of a short time memory loss, but
That's fine.
I think 2007, I have not got a chance, never had a chance to try and even get another home after council.
Why do you feel that was?
Do you know?
Or what excuse,
Because
not excuse, but what explanation did they
when I
give to
went
you?
in, as I said, when I came back to Dublin, he said, I will consider you in 10 years from now. And then that just kind of brushed me under the carpet, as if to say I was a nobody. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I felt.
That reverts
To
back to the
myself.
fact of my ma
And
surrendering
I
the
just-
council house key. Key of the house.
Yeah.
It just
Oh, okay,
devastated
so
me.
when-
And I said a day like that to every person that goes in about a house. I will consider you in 10 years from now. And there's people that I talk to say, well, I was told to consider me in 5 years, and it's now 20 years and I'm still homeless.
So did you, because that brings us through to about 2017, doesn't it? For 2007, 10 years hence, that's about then. Did you go back into them at that
I went
stage?
into them for to see what was the pint or something, isn't it called?
To gain reference numbers of her
So to get
Dublin
the
City
number
Council list.
of where I'd be on the council list.
Yeah.
So that's the only, I went back in for that. So I have that in my file. So that's in my hostel. So I have to get that out now, get the number, and I'm going to ring them and find out how far down am I on this council list.
Okay.
Do you know?
And
So,
so during that period, because obviously you had your problems with addiction, but you're now in
recovering. Yeah,
which is
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah.
But then that period, I suppose, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out, frankly, where you were staying and where were you living. Can you give us a sense of?
I was staying everywhere and anywhere, Kieran. Some friends would take me in, then I'd end up sleeping out on the street, then I'd end up getting a tent, and a couple of friends that were drinkers would say, stay beside us and we'll keep you safe because you're a woman. Do you know what I mean? These were friends that I grew up with, so I could trust them with all my life and my heart and soul. And they'd park their tent there and I'd have mine there, and we got on great, like a little family. But the only thing was missing was my 7 kids.
Yeah.
But it's just, I can't understand how all these homeless people, they're getting found dead on the street here on, and still there's nothing done about it. Do you know what I mean? And then with my son here, getting put into a room with a 53-year-old man, and to be asked to do all these things, and then to be blinded with scalding sugar and water. Now how sick can that be? And you're supposed to be told, when you go into this room now, you'll be nice and safe, you'll be able to sleep happy. You don't know who you're sleeping beside, so how the fuck can you sleep happy? Do you get me?
Do you have a lighter?
And I do worry about him now all the time about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's the same with me.
Yeah.
But the room I was put in a few weeks ago, the girl, I like the girl,
Sorry, can I so you were in a hostel accommodation, that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
With the woman?
Yeah.
So was this in Dublin city centre?
This was over, I can never think of that name.
It's just a 10-minute walk from O'Connell Street, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
And your experience was you were in with another woman?
I went into, I knew her very well, but it just wasn't where I could sleep. Do you know, because her side of the room was unreal.
On the basis of
And the staff said to
bathroom
me,
alone, that was your main problem.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The bathroom, I was breathing down fumes of all, whatever was coming out, the sink, the toilet, whatever.
Can you say that word, please?
And I was badly, my chest, that I could not breathe for a week. Do you know what I mean? But since I left that room, my breathing, perfect. Do you know what I mean? But
And you raised that with the hostel, is that right? You were saying.
I said it to the woman in the hostel. I said, that is disgraceful. I said, I can't wash myself. I'm a woman. A woman has to wash herself. I said, I can't use that bathroom, brush my teeth, wash my hair, use that toilet. I said, that is disgraceful for the council to put someone in. I thought it was going to be put in a nice little tidy. I'm not looking for a mansion of a room, just something clean and tidy, and someone that I can trust. Do you know what I mean?
And it was backed up with human sewage.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, that's the correct way.
unlivable, and that's the truth.
I mean, it's obviously very difficult to hear, from anyone, and the audience is going to be shocked to hear that. But I was all the more surprised when you were saying in the last couple of weeks, when you've decided to move back out effectively onto the street, or at least into, a doorway or that situation, that you feel much safer.
More at east, yeah.
Why is that?
I really do. Because you're in a room with a person, and then there's other girls that you're not allowed to be in each other's rooms. That's the rules and regulations, but they don't listen to that. And they're all coming in and they're smoking what they do, and that's their own business.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in saying that, they should pick people that's non-drug addicts and put the ones that's into what they're into in the room. But don't put a person that's never on a drug and put them in with someone that is. I find that very, very wrong.
When I entered that hostel and they said, look, this will be your room, this is the law, this is what we do here, I said, right, grand, I have it all in one. I'm years in these hostels. I said, I know how it works. I said, one mistake on me, I'm out. I lasted 5 days. I didn't lose my bed. I just couldn't return after what happened. Based on that, no, I left my number on the day I moved in. I said, that's my close contact, that's my Maz number. I said, they didn't call me back from the time I got out of hospital to see if I was okay. And I feel that the hostel should have called me, because 3 days prior to me being attacked in my sleep, I made a complaint to the staff and I said, something bad may happen in that room. I said, can you put it in your handover? The staff said, I give you my word, I will. I said, you have my contact number, you know what room I'm in. I said, I have a bad feeling. I said, I don't need to be in that room, or he needs to be out, one or the other. And to make a very long story short, the hostel has my number. This happened 3 weeks ago now. Our phone is still on. The hostel has our number. They told me when I moved into the hostel, no matter what you go through, we are here to help. We will do everything we can. But once you leave the outside, they forget you.
Do you think they fulfil the duty of care to you?
Only within the premises, they do. Only within it.
Even with regard to what happened?
Well,
that you raised the most and then something.
The most a hostel can really do for you is counsel you in the sense of giving you a 10-minute conversation. Eddie, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Or everyone that's in a hostel. If someone comes in as, say, a resident, we call ourselves in a hostel because we're not the staff, so we're residents. They'd say to us, you look in low mood today, come in, we have a word with you. To me, I always found that as a 5-minute counselling session. They do mean well, most of them, but not everyone is the same in staff's regards. in regards to staff. But I don't know, Kieran. I really don't know, because I have so much going on, and prior to this happening, I've had more things going on. The suicide with my dad in 2006 was when the family separated, and that's when, as I said to you a few moments ago, the brothers in prison that I have said, Eddie, the worst thing you can do is go near any police station. You'll deal with it in your own way by counselling and just staying away from the city. And I got transferred from there, coming out of the hostel, to another hostel. And within 3 days of that hostel, as we said a while back at the beginning of this, that's when I was followed out, and me and my ma had to fight a couple. And it happened just 5 days after me getting out of hospital for the scalding. They sent me to that hostel, a new one, and that's where we were followed out, me and my ma. And I had to watch my ma fight with a woman on a Lewis track, while that woman that my ma was fighting, her man was running for me. So me and the man was fighting on the path, and my ma and the woman was fighting on the Lewis. There was crowds around. And in the aftermath, I says to my ma, like when it was all over and done with, I said, did you see how empty the street was till the fight broke out between the four of us? And my ma said, yeah. I said, the amount of people that come out to watch the fight. And my ma said, Eddie, never mind just me and you, she said. Imagine we were getting stabbed to death on that main street with everyone watching, she said. What if it was someone else getting really stabbed to death the way we didn't? She said, what if they were fighting for their life? I said, what do you mean, ma? She said, Eddie, son, you just said the amount of people watching, she said, and I'm trying to tell you, son, not one of them stepped in to help you, him or her. I said, do you know what? That just woke me right up to the core, ma. All them onlookers have the power, as 30 individuals watching, to overpower 4 people and separate us, but they got more satisfaction as standing back. And in another sense, it's not their duty of onlookers going in town shopping to break up anyone's fight in the first place. So I do understand why nobody intervened.
And yet there wasn't one guard to be seen on the street
But even
throughout all that.
Yeah, and even in another sense though, I think it points to a kind of wider issue around homelessness, in that if you're thinking about bystanders and onlookers, you can extend that really to the majority of Irish people, myself included, which is we're aware of situations around homelessness. There's only so much we feel individually we can do. But on that note though, I just wonder if we get a few words from you on what you'd like to see the government do with regard to homelessness at the moment, because it's seemingly becoming out of control.
One thing comes to my mind straight away, and it may be a big ask, but it's not a big ask when the council has the funds, the accommodations. A second thing comes to my mind, but I'll stick with the first one. When I was 18, coming out of care, I was introduced by my aftercare worker to the free phone number, which is to book a bed. And she said they'll give you the greatest of support. I was walking into the unknown on maybe 3 months being 18, coming out of care. She said to me, the hostels now, where they give you a single room, and I believed all of it, but I thought, now that I have all these years later to reflect back on that woman's words, I thought she was never in a hostel to even know of the single rooms. For every homeless person in Dublin or anywhere in Ireland where they provide hostels, there is no such thing as a single room for every hostel. They don't have them single rooms. I was in a room one time when I was about 21 with 9 people per night, with bunk beds, 9 people. And I thought, I don't deserve this. As much as I don't deserve to be in this room with 8 people, them 8 people don't deserve to be in a room at 9. Do you know what type of way? I said, we all must feel the same way. We need that individual door to lock behind us, as give us that safety. Example, it wouldn't have happened to me if I had a key in my single room that morning. Whoever else was assaulted in hostels, in whether they were awake or asleep, I'm guessing, in my opinion, that they're thinking the same thing. I wouldn't have been attacked, and they'd say for themselves they wouldn't have been attacked if they were given a single room in a lovely hostel, just lock that single door behind them, and that key is their sense of safety. If someone knocks that's a resident to that single room, we all have the right to ask, who's on the other side of the door before I open it? No, we get told you have to share a room. You have to share a room. You have to pay your way you have to pay your rent, you have to give us respect, you have to be on time. If you're late, you're messing yourself about, not us. We get paid to work, you're not getting paid to live here. In one sense, no, you have to spend about 6 months to 12 months with paying €52 per week rent, and that €52 for your bed, the access to the showers, the toilets, the food, the breakfast, dinner, tea, supper, the counselling, the offers of engaging with the CPS through the hostel's computers, the key workers that they give you. The key workers and all, they all have great intentions. They are very highly educated. They'd love someone to come through the door with a clear head and say, you're homeless, I believe in you. I've been chatting, I'm just speaking a key worker's mind. I know that key workers would love someone with a clear head to come through the door and say, out of all my years of working here, I believe in you. You want out of here because I know it, I can see it, I can feel it from you. You are just so passionate about my home, my home, my home. Eddie, look, this is your home for now. And I've always responded, this hostel, my home? Don't use that word with me. I don't use that word. When I'm going to leave me ma at night, I don't say, ma, I'm going home. Ma, I'm going back to this institution. When my ma is going back to her hostel, she doesn't say I'm going home. I'm going back to this mental house.